Right now, at this very moment, there is someone weaker than you who is winning. Why? Because they appear more certain. They speak without hesitation. They act as if they deserve everything and the world accepts them. Meanwhile, you hesitate. You overthink. You wait for the right moment, the right words, the right feeling, and while you wait, someone else takes what could have been yours. Confidence is not a trait, it is a weapon. And if you don't pick it up, someone else will use it against you. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The bold move ahead, even without skill. The timid fall behind, no matter how intelligent they are, because power doesn't belong to the best. It belongs to the most certain. This video is a turning point of your life. This video is not for motivation, not for comfort, but for control and power. You will learn how to erase hesitation, how to speak like a king, how to walk like a man who expects obedience. Watch carefully, because from now on, your weakness will not be tolerated. It will be replaced. You were not born weak. You were made that way. Through repetition, rewards, rules, trained to obey, trained to seek approval, trained to ask, "Is this okay if I do it?" What exists inside you right now is not a man. It's a servant, conditioned to please, programmed to bow, a loyal dog afraid of judgment, waiting for permission. That voice in your head that hesitates, overthinks, apologizes before speaking. That isn't you. It's the servant inside you. And if you don't kill it, remember, you'll never, ever be free. Machiavelli didn't speak softly. He commanded. He didn't wait to be understood. He acted and let others catch up. He didn't ask for power. He took it, because he knew those who ask are never entitled. Your transformation begins with inversion. Every time you want to shrink, instead, do expand. Every time you want to explain, just stop and silent. Every time you want to apologize, do stare instead. Dangerous confidence doesn't come from feeling ready. It comes from doing what the inner servant would never dare to do. From now on, you take up space. You stop nodding. You stop softening your tone. You speak as if your words are decisions, not suggestions. Confidence isn't a mindset. It's an identity. And that identity is forged in rebellion, not against the world, but against the version of you that still wants to serve. So here is your first rule. If something makes you smaller, just kill it. It could be a thought or a habit. Just kill it. If it's a person, leave them. If a thought makes you hesitate, fight it and crush it. The world will tell you to be kind, humble, and good, but here is Machiavelli's truth. Good men are tools. They are used, discarded, and replaced. Powerful men are not good. They are precise, measured, controlled, and calculated. And it starts by cutting off that small voice inside that still begs to be accepted. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You need one thing only: the willingness to be feared, not by others, but by your old self. Because the moment the servant dies, the king wakes up. Powerful men don't arrive loudly. They arrive with presence. Not with their voice, but with their silence, their stillness, their gaze. You don't need to be liked. You don't need to be famous. You only need to change the atmosphere the moment you enter. That is how a man walks when he owns the room. Not because he was told he does, but because he behaves as if he always has. Machiavelli learned this in royal courts. Those who ruled were not always kings. Sometimes it was the man sitting quietly in the corner, barely speaking, but when he spoke, the entire court bowed. Silence is control. You think talking makes you dominant. It doesn't. It makes you predictable. The silent man is dangerous because no one knows what he's thinking.
When you enter a room, you don't look for permission. You don't scan for approval. You observe and absorb. You let others rush to prove themselves while you calculate. Your posture speaks before your mouth. You walk slowly, not because you're unsure, but because you're in no hurry. Predators don't run until it's time to strike. Most people don't realize how fast they walk, how fast they talk, how often they interrupt, because they're trying to impress. They are still under someone else's judgment. But when you move like the owner of the room, you don't speak to impress. You speak to decide. Your every sentence carries finality. Every word feels like a conclusion. People start listening differently. They don't dare to challenge you. They calibrate themselves to you. And when others speak, you wait. You let them go first. You let them reveal their hunger, insecurity, and weakness. Because the one who speaks first usually reveals what they fear. And once you know that, you can bend them at will.
You don't chase energy, you become gravity. At this level, confidence isn't about being liked. It's about forcing others to question their position just by standing next to you. You walk as if you've already won, not out of ego, but like someone who doesn't compete because he has already chosen himself. If they respect you, good enough. If they don't, even better. Indifference to approval is the highest form of power. And even if the room wasn't yours when you entered, they will remember it as if it was when you leave. Not because you asked, but because you didn't have to. Words are not just sounds, they are weapons. Most men speak as if they're asking permission to exist. You can spot them instantly. The rising tone at the end of sentences, nervous laughter, endless "I think," "maybe," "I'm not sure." They speak as if apologizing for taking up space. That's not humility. That's called self-destruction. Machiavelli knew the truth. Power isn't in what you say, but in how you say it. When you speak as if you cannot be denied, people don't analyze your words. They submit to the weight of your certainty. Because people aren't logical, they're emotional. They don't follow truth, they follow belief. If you seem certain, they assume you're right. If you hesitate, they assume you're not worth listening to. So what does a Machiavellian voice sound like? It was slow, calm, and final. You speak as if your words are not open to debate. Each sentence feels like decree. Speak like someone who expects obedience. It doesn't matter if you're in a room full of experts. If you sound like a decision, they will bow in front of you. So now comes the first rule. Sound like the ending, not the beginning. And here's what most will never tell you. You don't need to speak often to gain respect. The more you say, the more chances you give others to decode you, challenge you, or worse, stop fearing you. Speak less, mean more. When you speak, remove softness from your tone. Never say, "I'm just saying," "I could be wrong," "I'm not sure." These are escape hatches for the weak. Just light a fire and burn them. Say what you mean and stop. Let others deal with the silence afterward, because silence after a strong statement is powerful. It dares people to challenge you, and most won't, because they fear what you might say next. Your tone is your real message. Sound like a man with nothing to prove and everything under control. Conversations aren't won by volume. They're won by speaking as if your words are facts, not suggestions. That's how rulers and generals speak. If someone challenges you, never defend. Don't argue with them. Don't explain. Don't justify yourself. Simply say, "I disagree," or better, "That's wrong," and move on. Refusing to debate signals something terrifying, that your reality is not negotiable. That's how you control a room without raising your voice. Confidence isn't volume, it's gravity, the invisible weight behind your word. You're not trying to be right. You're speaking like someone who cannot be wrong. You're not trying to be heard. You're speaking like agreement is inevitable. That is the real power. But confidence without control is decoration. You can walk tall, speak well, move with authority. But if someone can still trigger you with a sentence, You're not powerful. You're exposed. Most men fail here. They master presence and speech, but their emotions still belong to others. One insult and they react. One compliment and they soften. You are not free until you master the invisible battle inside your own mind. Machiavelli feared dependence more than enemies. He didn't trust affection. He trusted control. Because once people know what moves you, they know where to press. And once they know where to press, you are no longer dangerous. You are manageable. And manageable men are discarded the moment their usefulness ends. So now, the shift begins. You stop being the man who reacts and become the man who calculates. Get insulted? Just don't explain. Get ignored? Don't panic, just grow colder. Silence becomes your weapon. This is what it means to be psychologically unreachable. Most men are painfully easy to control. Tell them they're not good enough, they'll start over-explaining themselves. Tell them they're amazing, they'll start chasing you. Pull away emotionally, they'll beg. That's not strength. That's called the conditioning. Until you break this code, you'll always be someone else's tool. So rebuild yourself. Kill the need to be understood, which is the core virus of your personality. The urge to explain, to be seen, to be approved. Just burn it. You are not alive to be understood. You are alive to move the world quietly, precisely, and intelligently. Kill the fear of rejection. A Machiavellian mind doesn't chase acceptance, it controls access. You don't want invitations. You want people wondering what happens when they don't get access to you. Kill the habit of emotional reaction. Emotions are real, but irrelevant unless weaponized. Anger becomes fuel. Humiliation becomes leverage. Doubt becomes silence. Let your results speak. Powerful men aren't robots, they are undeniable. Once no one can shake you emotionally, all they can do is watch you move with precision and fear. The world doesn't care how you feel. It responds to what you project. When your identity becomes unshakable, you become so dangerous, not because you're loud or violent, but because you are unreachable. Rejection isn't a loss, it's a filter, a test, a fire that shows you what to cut away. You were not rejected, you were redirected toward a version of yourself that doesn't ask twice, doesn't hesitate, doesn't wait to be chosen. Go build in silence. Return as powerful man they cannot deny. You were not motivated, you were rebuilt. From the inside out, you killed self-doubt with action. You stopped waiting to feel ready. Just learned that power doesn't belong to the perfect, it belongs to the bold. You turned rejection into fuel, stopped chasing approval, and made people feel the cost of losing you. You became rare. And what happens next? They start noticing. You no longer enter rooms to be accepted. You shape them through presence, posture, and precision. You don't speak to be heard. You speak as if disagreement isn't an option. Above all, you rebuilt your identity. You are no longer predictable, no longer easily shaken, emotionally untouchable and unforgettable. This was never just about confidence. It was about dominance, mental, emotional, and psychological. You are not here to blend in. You are here to move pieces, bend rooms, haunt memories, even in silence. Because real power doesn't beg, explain, or announce itself. It simply exists, and the world reshapes around it. Like the video if you've stopped chasing. Subscribe if you're ready to become the kind of man they cannot control, predict, or forget. This isn't self-help. This is a war, and you are now the weapon.